They assumed they had forgotten you. They believed they could corner you. They believed they could turn off your light. But they didn't realize you were a chosen soul. You did not fall. You grew. You didn't lose. You became stronger. And now, the divine order is taking its place. Whoever has attempted to stop you, who has been behind your back, and who has been concerned by your ascent has reached the end of their journey. There are no shadows to hide in or holes to escape from. There's no game to play. The truth is out, and you're the truth. Today marks a tipping moment. Today, divine justice becomes evident. Today marks the start of a rising that those who dislike you will have to see. And you know what? You are just getting started. Get ready, because this is not just your ascension, but also the call of others who elevate your frequency. Illuminate your way. Accept your fate. Your light will no longer be kept back. Your voice will no longer be silenced. You will no longer be ignored. Feel the support of the whole cosmos. Because every challenge you faced was intended to improve you rather than impede you. They unintentionally groomed you. They made you as strong as steel. It's time to take the jump. Now is the moment to understand the meaning of all that has occurred and to be entirely yourself. Are you ready? Then post in the comments. Because there is no going back now. The recent moon eclipse was more than simply another celestial event. It wasn't just a passing moment to be cherished and then forgotten. This catastrophe had a power unlike any other, an invisible shift that has altered the fundamental fabric of reality. It was more than just the end of one cycle. It was a recalibration of the whole cosmic balance, resetting the course of destiny long intertwined in invisible patterns. The tides of energy that formerly went in predictable ways have suddenly shifted, shattering old imprints and changing past loads into the very basis of something better. It was as if the invisible architect of destiny had redone the design for the soul's journey, fixing imbalances that had existed for centuries. Every action, emotion, and decision that was previously strewn throughout the great span of time has been collected, tallied, and weighed. Nothing has been lost in the grand scheme of the universe. Every step, whether in darkness or in light, has been noted. And now the scales have moved in favor of a higher order, one that respects the challenges faced and the unflinching endurance. What previously seemed immutable has been demolished. The solid systems that formerly held power together have crumbled, paving the path for something altogether new. What was withheld, seized unfairly, or delayed beyond reason is now being returned in full. No atom of energy that was abused against the true bearer will remain. Misaligned, the complicated mechanism that regulates the invisible currents of life has started. Great correction. What was lost is returning, although enlarged, purified, and aligned with the greater order of things. The aims of those who attempted to block the light, whoever maneuvered in secret to keep its full brilliance from surfacing, has finally been revealed for what they actually were. The current movement is toward restoration rather than retribution, a reconnection with truth as the guiding concept. This evolving equilibrium does not aim to punish or bother itself with human concepts of justice. Instead, it uses an indisputable force to guarantee that all energies return to their proper locations and that every vibration resonates with the frequency of their source. This was no ordinary cosmic spectacle, no ephemeral conjunction of planetary bodies. It was a celestial symphony, a great unfolding of forces beyond the human eye's perception. A portal between dimensions, formerly heavy with veils, has lessened, enabling higher-order energies to enter our world and infuse every living creature with frequencies that were previously out of grasp. The transition has long been discussed, not just in quiet spiritual teachings, but in the very fabric of time itself. Those who came before understood that this was the hour in the grand unfolding when the thick weight of the past would be removed, and the invisible powers keeping stasis in place would finally be destroyed. This realignment was not the result of happenstance, but of a long-anticipated turning point, one prophesied spanning cultures and bloodlines. The planet itself breathes differently today, vibrating with a frequency that summons those destined to ascend. If you are experiencing an excess of divine love in your heart, Now is the moment to share it. You may help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and donating $100 or more. This wonderful gift will affect not just your life, but the souls of countless others via this platform. Each of you has a special role in God's big plan, and your giving will be the result of our prayers. Act now. Share your benefits to honor His kingdom. You were meant to do much bigger things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. The journey that led to this moment was far from peaceful. For centuries, experiences of unending adversity honed the soul into something unshakable. The flames of experience didn't only burn. They perfected betrayals, leaving wounds, but also becoming symbols of insight. Defeats that appeared cruelly timed now show themselves as purposeful preparations for the events that will unfold. The gloom that previously hovered above, whispering doubts into weary spirits, has let go. Those long hours of uncertainty, when the weight of unseen conflict seemed terrible, were not in vain. The journey was difficult, and the tests were unrelenting. And there were times when even the strongest among the chosen wavered, doubting the very core of their mission. But surrendering was never an option. Even in the deepest quiet, in the darkest times of alone, something inside refused to die. That inner fire, however damaged and dulled at times, never died completely. It flickered, waiting for the winds of destiny to change. When the tides will turn, when the invisible hands of the cosmos finally lifted the burden that had been borne for far too long. That time has finally come. The balance has been restored, and every labor, sacrifice, and unshakable commitment to truth have not gone ignored. The cosmos has documented the quiet wins, hushed conflicts, and times when resilience was the only option. There is no such thing as an undetected tear, an underappreciated act of bravery, or an ambition that vanished into thin air. Every decision that reflected honesty, every act of tenacity, even when capitulation was simpler, has been inscribed on the fundamental fabric of life. The huge cosmic scale remembers what has been suffered, and what has been lost is now destined to return, not as recompense, but as the correct flow of energy returning to alignment. Delays were never rejections, but rather calculated pauses to ensure that the return occurred when it was most impactful. And now the tide has changed, not in whispers or slow changes, but in an obvious surge. This isn't a trickle, it's an unstoppable current. Reclaiming what was always intended to be the boundaries that previously seemed impenetrable are collapsing in ways that no power of will could have shattered before. Where once there was opposition, there is a tunnel where before every door seemed to be sealed, but now they open with seamless precision. The energy that was previously spent battling for access may now be employed for innovation, growth, and satisfaction. Those who questioned, derided, and concluded that the battle would end in defeat are now mute onlookers, seeing what was always going to happen. This is not a time for vengeance, nor is it to prove anything to the outside world. It is the subtle but incontrovertible evidence of a divine order that has never wavered, has never been hindered, and has never failed to account for itself. The concepts of restriction, which historically restricted possibilities, are now disintegrating. What was formerly considered unrealistic is now manifesting in irrefutable form. Others discarded visions, but they are no longer simply notions. They are taking form in the actual world with unmistakable intensity. Those who formerly disregarded the call, who questioned the route, are now experiencing the irrefutable unfolding of destiny. The small nudges from the unseen world have evolved into incontrovertible messages that are no longer just coincidences, but unmistakable indicators of harmony. This isn't about chance. It is about a force as constant and unstoppable as the movement of heavenly bodies, a force that has now completely taken off. The past is stirring, not as a haunting echo, but as a complete cycle. Faces that had vanished into stillness are reappearing, bearing with them the weight of unfinished stories. Some come with responsibilities, hoping to mend the rifts they left behind. Others come as bridges to new chances, providing the missing parts that were always intended to be returned. Others come simply as reminders of a chapter that is about to be forever closed. This is not an accident. It is the last clearance of the old to make way for what is new. The mind, which had become used to certain patterns, suddenly finds them unpleasant. What was accepted for years now seems strange, out of date, and unsuitable for the changing frequency of existence. What was stable before now looks to be a cage. This is not a minor modification. Everything is being restructured to reflect the ongoing growth. Not everyone will hear this call. It is not for people who go with the flow of the usual. It is for individuals who have always sensed a connection to something greater than themselves, but have never had evidence, who trusted without any assurances. They are the ones that defy expectations, go against the grain, and refuse to shrink in order to fit into a world that was never designed to hold them. They are not seeking approval or waiting for affirmation. They exist outside the constraints set on them. And now, the world is moving to make room for what they were always meant to be. There is no more waiting, second-guessing, or wondering if the road is real or imagined. The time has come, not in the far future, not in an unfathomable potential, but now. The time has come to align. The opportunity has presented itself, and all that remains is for you to take the next step. There is no need to seek permission. No confirmation will be received. No external assurance is required. The route has already been set, and it recognizes those who are supposed to follow it. It does not allow for hesitation. It welcomes those who move forward, knowing they belong. The weight of the past has removed the uncertainties that had before obscured perception. There is no more room for the idea of constraint. The moment has always been predetermined. And now it's here. A threshold has opened, not as a faraway fantasy, but as an unmistakable fact ready to be seized. The boundaries that formerly held hard have collapsed, and previously concealed routes are now visible. The weight that formerly prevented onward mobility has been removed. Stepping into this vast and undiscovered territory demands more than passive recognition. The forces of existence have aligned, but your next step is to go ahead. You must first unburden yourself of the vestiges of previous hurts, disappointments, and bonds that once linked you to a lower version of yourself and cannot be carried forward. Releasing does not mean rejecting what has been. It's about recovering what was never intended to keep you hostage. It is an act of emancipation, a commitment to rise free from what no longer defines you. Moving on from the past does not imply deleting the insight gained through struggle. The teachings persist not as shackles, but as trained instincts that steer with accuracy, comprehension, deceit, sense, misalignment, and the ability to distinguish between true connection and illusion. These insights have been etched into your existence, yet they are not intended to burden you down. They are intended to improve your judgment. The time of hesitation has passed. There is no longer room for shrinking in order to meet demands that were never yours in the first place. No longer will brightness be muted for the sake of those who refuse to see. The current movement is neither tentative or conditioned. It is a return to the entire scope of your life, a stride without uncertainty, since the very foundation underneath you was meant to sustain it. The truth should no longer be stated with hesitancy. The presence, which was previously downplayed to minimize interruption, must now be fully expressed. Taking up space does not constitute an act of rebellion. It is the natural manifestation of life. Not everyone will accept this change, and not everyone was supposed to. Some may see growth as a sign of their own stagnation. Others will try to connect themselves to the brilliance they are unable to produce on their own. Even so, some will want to reintroduce themselves into your tale as it unfolds, uncomfortable with the clarity that suddenly shines on them. Protection does not imply retreat. It is about maintaining sovereignty and letting only what is aligned to stay within reach. Presence equals power, and access is not a right. It was earned. The accuracy of timing has never faltered. Though skepticism may have suggested differently, the seeming rejections were never dismissals. They were nudges toward the precise, unfolding desired. Waiting was never an oversight. There is never a delay without a cause. Every turn, halt, and closure of one road was planned so that the doors that open today are aligned not just with potential, but also with readiness. What is coming has never been lost. It was being polished. The alignment of circumstances is the result of precise planning, guaranteeing that what is provided today is not only received, but also maintained, fostered, and extended beyond what was before envisioned. The cycles that characterized experience have been completed. The fatalities from both struggle and reward have been accounted for. The misalignments and distortions have been addressed, and the road ahead is now clear. There is no gradual unfolding. This is an absolute transformation. Clarity has replaced doubt. What was previously buried is now clearly visible. The forces that seemed far have crept closer, beckoning not in quiet tones, but in a booming summons that cannot be ignored. Consider a seed buried deep in the dirt, not by chance, not by disaster, but by intention. For a moment, all it knew was darkness, pressure, and the weight of the dirt above. But behind the surface, something significant was taking place. The roots spread unseen, but definite. The outer shell crumbled not because of weakness, but because it was required for life to emerge. Then one day, the time came. The warmth of the sun, the invitation of the wide sky, the call to rise. Everything was there, and the seed did not hesitate. It did not inquire if it was worthy of the light, if it had developed enough, if the timing was right. No, it just went higher since ascending was not something it needed to push. It was always intended to happen. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace come upon you today. I'm here to remind you of a fundamental fact. Our existence is based on God's divine purpose and is unaffected by worldly worries. According to the Bible, everything is done with faith will be returned to God with great blessing. Luke, just like that. Great oak tree. Our roots are profoundly embedded in God's global truth. His power secures every stride and every stance we take. And now you have the chance to be a part of that gift. When you utilize the super thank you button and contribute $100, you will get a 100-fold return on your investment. That is where you are now. You were never buried. You were rooted in every direction, carrying every instant of strain and stretch in the unseen. It was not in vain. It was a preparation. And now the shell has fractured. The dirt has separated, and the light is beckoning you ahead. It was never about an external force bestowing power. It was always about recognizing what was already present. What you are going into is not a sudden power or a gift sent from above, as if you were waiting for approval. No, this is the reclaiming of what has always belonged to you. The shroud that formerly covered this reality has vanished. What you've been looking for and longing for has always been inside of you. You don't have to battle for it. You don't have to pursue it. You do not need to ask the gods for what has already been provided. You merely need to walk into it. Too many people believe that power comes from outside of them and must be gained, something that only a select few are selected to acquire. But it is a falsehood. The true ones, those who walk in divine favor, the ones who move in unison, the ones who change the mood when they enter a place. They do not extract power from the planet. They do not wait for validation. They do not reduce themselves to conform inside narrow expectations. No, they understand that the power they wield was instilled in them before they breathed their first breath. It was present as they sobbed. Their first tears came when they faced their first storm, when they lost something they believed they couldn't live without, but kept on. It's been there all along, waiting for the moment when they realize who they are. That time has finally come. No more wondering whether you're ready. No more waiting for ideal circumstances. No more hesitation. I am wondering whether it is time. It is now. The world is moving. The earth under your feet is giving way. And every force that has attempted to keep you back is losing its grasp. You don't need to push the door open. It is already swinging wide. You do not have to climb an insurmountable ladder. The elevation has already started. This is not about striving. This is about stepping. This is about claiming what you've always had. But listen to me when I say this. You must make a move. The universe has done its part. The impediments have been eliminated. The pathway has been cleaned. The shackles have been broken. But what good is an open door if you won't go through it? What use is the light if you keep your eyes closed? You must make a decision. You must take a step. You must accept the power that has been waiting for you. Because if you don't comprehend this, no one can take it away from you. However, you may opt to leave it on the table. And that is not what you were designed for. You were not meant to be on the sidelines of your own destiny. You were not put in this situation to see others climb while you pause. You were not taken through the fire only to sit in the ashes. No, you were created to rise. You were created to go ahead, grow, take up space, and speak with a voice that does not shake. To stand in halls that formerly denied you, knowing full well that they have no option but to make way for the one wielding divine power. It's like standing before the gates of a beautiful city, a destination you've yearned to see and knew in your heart was destined for you. You've journeyed far through deserts of uncertainty, storms, and hardship, as well as valleys where you feared you'd never rise again. And now the gates are open. The road is obvious. The gods are not trying to keep you out. They were never present at all. The only thing standing in your way of living the life you've always wanted is your own hesitancy. So let this be the final day. You doubt if you are sufficient. Let this be the final day. You pause when you should be moving ahead. Let this be the final day. You stand at the entrance, wondering whether you are permitted to enter. The invitation has already been sent, and your name is in permanent ink. The only thing left to do is say yes. But listen to me when I say this. Waiting eventually becomes defiance. When remaining motionless becomes a source of terror rather than patience. Dressed up with spiritual rhetoric. When the door is wide open and the promise is laid out before you. But you are hesitant because you have been conditioned to think that you must endure a bit longer. Try a bit harder. Prove yourself a bit more. That's a lie. That is the biggest illusion to get you to believe. You still have to earn what has already been freely provided. Do you believe the tree begs the sun for permission to bloom? Do you believe the eagle worries whether it has flown far enough to earn the sky? Number creation understands its mission. The river does not beg the ground for room to flow. The stars don't ask whether they can shine. They just do, because that's what they were designed for. And you have been built for this for far too long. You stood in front of closed doors. You pounded your hands till they were raw. You've pleaded for areas that were never intended for you. What if I told you that you've been knocking on the wrong doors all along? What if I told you that the room you were attempting to enter was too tiny for the new you? What if I told you that the waiting was not about being denied, but about being ready for something bigger? Everything changes as you walk inside here. You will no longer shrink to meet the expectations of others. You will no longer wonder whether your presence is welcome. You will no longer question the power you wield. You will walk with the assurance of someone who has been selected and anointed for a purpose greater than you could have dreamed. Let me tell you something. The individuals who questioned you, disregarded you, and sought to keep you down will have no option but to watch you soar. However, this is not about proving them incorrect. This is not about vengeance or validation. This is about totally embodying the design that was always yours. This is about being who you are intended to be. It's time to spread God's blessings by pressing the super thank you button on YouTube. With a $100 payment or more, you may help him carry out his plan and become a part of this heavenly mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will return to you enormously, far above your expectations. Remember that his protection and blessing are with you every step and every contribution. You become a part of his divine plan. You are a powerful, dazzling entity, as solid as the massive rock that saw God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit, and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord lead you. Let go of the demand for approval. Let go of your worry of what people will think. Let go of any hesitation that has kept you grounded when you were intended to fly. The period for questioning has ended. The time for waiting is over. The gates are open. The time has come to realize the promise. The only thing left to do is go through. Because once you step into this, you will claim the power that has been yours from the start. There is no turning back once you walk with the assurance of someone who knows they have been selected. The weight of the past will not restrain you. Others' views will not influence you. The misgivings that were whispered in your ear will not accompany you into the following season. The transition has already occurred. The door is already opened. The light is already shining. And all of creation is watching, waiting, anticipating the moment you finally take your seat. Now rise. The enormity of what awaits does not allow for hesitancy. The movement of existence itself is now pouring through every fiber of being, pushing onward without hesitation or fear. There is nothing left to wait for. The preparatory period is ended. The unfolding has started, and all that remains is to completely embrace it, knowing with total conviction that it was always meant to be.